Hello, welcome back to Amateur Fix-It. Today's project is a Packard Bell PB1120. I acquired this from a friend of mine. He works with e-waste, and he had mentioned what he had, and I went over to look at it. I was pretty intrigued because it had a monitor, PC, matching keyboard, matching mouse. So I jumped at the chance to get the unit. I've always wanted, since I've been starting doing these repairs, to get a PC and see if I could get it working again, or just to have a PC. I like to get like Windows 3.1 and play some software and play some games like Doom or something like that. So when he gave me the opportunity, I took him up on his offer. Once I got the unit home, I did plug it in. Exciting side was a monitor did power up, and the green light did come on. The downside was the PC, I got nothing. I put the power button, it's dead, totally dead. I couldn't get anything out of it. So what I proceeded to do is get on the internet, do some searches, try to figure out, if anyone else had come across the same issue that I had. I believe the issue is going to be battery. These older systems tend to have these batteries in them that leak on the motherboard. They destroy traces and other, and actually possibly capacitors and chips. I'm not really sure until I get into the unit. So I'm guessing this is giving me what I wanted. I wanted the unit to try to work on, to fix, to see if I could bring it back to life. Once we get inside of it, once I open the unit up, I'll see really what issues I have in there. Again, it could be the power supply, but I've got a pretty good feeling it's the battery. There's quite a few posts, and that tends to be the issue with these older units. So I do have to say I'm a little bit intimidated by this. This is kind of out of my range. I do think it'd be a good idea that I could push myself a little bit. So without further delay, let's open up this soup can and see if we can fix it. Okay, so this is the PC. Let's see if we can turn it up. This is a Packard Bell PB421A. So we've got a serial port, we've got a printer parallel port, looks like we've got the video port, the PS2 ports for the keyboard and the mouse. Looks like there is a modem. I'm not sure what baud that is. Go ahead and spin it back around. The unit comes with a 5 1/4 inch floppy and a 3 1/2 inch floppy. We've got a turbo button, hard drive light. We have a turbo light, a hard drive light, a turbo button, a reset, and the power button. So let's go ahead and start disassembling, get it out of the case, and start digging in. All right, give you a little bit of history on this Packard Bell 486DX. So I did have the 33 megahertz, so this is a 66. But I kind of wanted to show you sort of the time frame, some of the specs, how these came out. So the Packard Bell, I'm guesstimating mine. This was a 66. Mine was a 33. So I'm guesstimating mine was around a 93 to 94 model. I'm not real sure. I was trying to find that. I wasn't able to find any actual specific dates on it. And actually, I wasn't even able to find my model number. I believe Packard Bell kind of took some liberties with model numbers. I'm not really sure, but I wasn't able to find anything on that. So the Packard Bell line was mostly kind of a middle grade computer. They really never sold them at like specialty stores. These were mostly sold at your retail stores like maybe Walmart or Best Buy. I did see where they were sold at some stores that are gone now. This is in the United States. They were sold at Circuit City, Montgomery Ward, even Sears. They came in, they were kind of like computer in a box. I don't know if I can find. So here's an example of one that was how they would ship them in boxes. Kind of like we do bed in boxes now. I'm guessing that's what it was. So it makes sense why I have a monitor, keyboard, mouse, the whole works, and of course the PC. So again, the Packard Bell, not really highly praised for all the components. So I think they probably put moderate to adequate components in the unit, so the normal family could purchase it, pick it up, bring it home, and use it. So much for my history lesson. Let's move on to the teardown. All right. So we have 2 screws removed. We have one here and we have one here. All right. So here's the unit. All right, looks like we have an Intel 486 CPU. This is the modem board, and I can't really see a whole lot, so let's start disassembling so we can get down into the unit. So after I got the unit, I started doing some searches on it to find out, any problems or issues that these units generally had. And I think I mentioned before the batteries do leak. I thought it was a big blue battery, but as you can see, this one's a brown battery, so I don't know if it was any better than the other one or not. I know this has been in there quite a few years, so I'm hoping it doesn't have any damage. Alright, I'm gonna have to switch to it's like a nut driver for these. These look like they're pretty well stripped. So I'll try to source some other ones, but let's go and get that bar out so you guys can see what I'm doing. It just looks like it lifts and just comes out. Okay, we'll set that aside. All right. So this is the expansion board here for the unit. And let's see, I don't see any name or markings on it. Looks like it is a PF210701. All right, so I'll go ahead and set that aside. This is going to come out again. This one's a little stripped also, so this one might have had repairs done on it back in the day. I don't even know. so I'm not really sure what I'm getting into here. But that's part of the fun, right? Okay, so this is the hard drive. It's a Seagate. It's hard to see here. ST3243A. All right, go ahead and set that aside. Now we can get to the 5 1/4 inch floppy. I'm just gonna go ahead and just use the nut driver so I don't strip any more of those out. Looks like that one's a screw. Phillips head, so let's go ahead and use that. I don't know if that was the process what Packard Bell did back in the day, where they went from Phillips to the other style, but or someone kind of pieced this back together. All right, so this is the beast. It's a 5 1/4 inch floppy. Here we go. It's a Panasonic JU475-5. All right, I'll set that aside. Almost down to the motherboard here. All right. So we do have, looks like that's for the lock. These are for the lights. And back here is going to be for the power to the board. Okay. All right, so let's get in here and this board apart. Actually, I think I can use my nut driver here. So okay, the motherboard is out now. All right, let's zoom in on the motherboard here and see where we're at. Now, unfortunately, I am seeing, sorry about my camera work, some damage. You can see the battery is leaked. I'm not sure how much damage we have, but let's get that out of there now. And let's let this bad battery go away. Ugh. Okay, so let's spin this around again. Let's see if we can zoom in. There is quite a bit of stuff going on down there. Might be able to bring it down a little bit. Get a little closer. To the damage here. Alright, so I'm going to take this in, I'm going to get it cleaned up and see if this is salvageable. Okay, okay, I'm back. So I took the board, I took it in, I used a little Dawn dish soap and a little toothbrush, scrubbed it, let it dry. This is the next day, actually. We could go over the board for a second. I do want to go ahead and do the elephant in the room and show the damage. So this is right off the bat going to be the problem. So obviously you can see where the battery was. This is the leak. We're missing some pads right here. This is actually, a chip's totally gone. It's a multiplexer that's missing. This is a ceramic capacitor that's also gone. So we know we're going to have to replace those. I do want to do some tests before I order any parts, but I'm pretty sure that's going to have to be taken care of. You want to kind of see what we've got here. The okay, so this was the chip we pulled out. It's a 486 SX. It's a 33 megahertz chip. It's a processor. If you go around the board, just get kind of acquainted with the board. This is the heart, or I'm sorry, this is headland. This is the video. Sorry, this is the video chip. You can see here. This is the BIOS. So when this chip was put in, it was a version 101.17e. I don't know if that was upgraded or anything, but I know that's the BIOS when it was put in. This ACC microchip back here, this is the input output. This is what controls the connections for those. Here's what we talked about. I'd like to talk about, or talked about before. So this is the RAM. So this is a 72-pin SIM for the RAM. This if you want to add the extra RAM. I believe this is 2 megs of RAM. This could be 4, but I'm going to look in that a little bit better. If you know, we can look right down here. I could be reading this wrong, but I'm seeing 1 meg times 4. So this is possibly it is 4 megs. That's what's in these rows. But I will dig in that a little bit more, because if that's the case, 4 meg was pretty good back in the day, but I would like to upgrade the RAM if I could. Everything else on the board looks pretty good. I'll flip it on the back side. This is the back side of where the damage was. So there's possibly, I don't know, there's some traces in here that may need to be fixed. But I don't see as much damage. It's just really that front is the problem. So there's different ways you can test these. I did find something from Amazon that allows me to test the power supply. It's a little kit. So I'm hopefully going to start working on some of these older machines. So I just went ahead and bought a kit. So this is designed to test power supplies. What I really wanted was this board. It's a post board. This will go on the ISA or the ISA slot. And this will, once you turn the unit on, it'll actually it'll show you some error codes, kind of help you through, kind of help troubleshoot. And I'm going to need the help. I always say I always need all the help I can get. So let's go ahead and get that set up. I think I want to start with the power supply, since I was not getting any power at all. All right, the first thing we're going to test is the power supply. I was going to use this one came with the kit, but this is for an ATX, and this is an AT. All right, so what we have is you look at the power supplies with this, you got your 2 negatives. So we're going to test each one of these, make sure we're getting enough power. So let me go ahead and plug that one in. All right, so our first pin should be over here, should be come out as 5 volt. It does. Our second pin, I believe, is the same. Third pins are 12. Yep. And yep. So it looks like our power supply is working properly. So now we'll move on to the testing of the board. Okay, so we'll go ahead and put the chip back in. Gonna lock it down. Should put it in correctly here. All right, so chips in. Connect the power supply. Connect the power to the power supply. Okay, so this is going to go into the ISO slot or ISA slot. Okay, all right, so let's hit the power switch and let's see what happens. So I got a 66 error code. Well, did get numbers. So let's see what a 66 is. Be right back. Okay, so I looked at the code. Again, it's coming up with a 66. And it said it's a cache registry code error. I'll have to look a little more into that, but I will say that we're going to probably just have to start working on the board anyway. So we look down in here. I did clean this up better. Used some baking soda, made a paste to get a lot more of that like green residue, much corrosion off. But I started using a razor blade to start scraping some of the traces because I wasn't getting any type of continuity with these. So I'll show you real quick. I do have a few that did power. Let me power this off real quick. Electrocute myself. And let me spin this around so we can get to it a little bit better. Okay, so what I did find is I do have a little bit of continuity with some of these down here, and this one here is not too bad. I think I actually, see if I can. And again, right almost to that pad, I can get that one. And then this one, pretty good too. It looks like I have a little bit that we need to do. This one here is pretty well gone. The main problem is this right in here. I don't really have anything. I might have like just a very small amount of continuity at all with these. So I went ahead, because this is really tight spaces, I ordered one of those digital microscopes. Should be coming in any time now, so that way I can really get a good view, and maybe you can too. But again, I'm just not getting anything. I did see where this capacitor to go. I think we're going to be okay there. So if I just get a capacitor, I'm pretty good for that one. So for this chip, this is going to be a lot of work. I just really don't have anything that's giving me any type of love at all. Let's see if I can. Now I will show you on the back. I did find a few more of that that were working better. So it's not all lost on the back side, but I do have a lot of lost too. So I mean, I started use a razor blade to kind of scratch a little bit of the mask off to see if I could get any type of connections here, but I've got nothing there. I've got nothing here. I can get there and pick up a little bit, but it does die right there. did have, actually this one here is, we go way over to get this one. Let's try that again. Alright, let's follow that too. So I did get that. So that actually is working. It's what we're gonna have to do is, looks like I may have to do some bodging back here, there. Got this one here. So we're good there. So I think really it's these three here, and then the major work's going to be right in here. So I did look at this piece too, because I am seeing, try to tilt it, but I'm seeing a lot of corrosion in there, so I may have to take that out also. Not really sure what I can get into until I can see what's going on, but you know, like I said, there's really everything in this area is really rough shape. So once I get the microscope, I'll put the board on and I'll start trying to run some bodge wires and see if we can at least get this connected back up, so we get the chip in, and then obviously try to put like a 2032 battery back in, so we get at least a little bit of battery too. So okay, so I'll see you in a few. The digital microscope came in. There's quite a few issues with the trace. This was that pad that I showed earlier that has the ceramic capacitor. Looks like I can work with those. This is where it starts to fall apart though. So I've got issues all over down here. This is the biggest problem right in here. Looks like the acid just took the traces all the way out, so those are going to have to be a full bodge wires. Try to go slow. I've got some damage here. This is going to be a problem. There's some rust to work on that. Okay, so at this point, I do think just for my spirits, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can tin and resolder those two pads for the capacitor, and then we're going to start with trying to run some of these wires. So let's do this. Okay, as I move forward, so to help with getting these bodge lines ran, I did purchase some of these. So these are dental root canal picks. All right. So this is what these look like. I did order them. They're literally for root canals. Bitty tiny bits here. I'm having a hard time focusing on that. So I'm going to begin to use those and see if I can open up some of the endpoints for the wires, and I'll move on from there. Okay, so I am going to pause here for a minute with the video. It's embarrassing to say, but I think I've bit a little bit off more than I can chew with this board. Uh, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to stop working on it, but I had this idea that I could turn this over, get this working within a week. I know it's silly to think about it now. Uh, this actually being the first time I've even worked on traces on a computer board, I guess I got a little over myself thinking I could do more than I could, and so I can't. But that's okay. And again, I'm not going to stop working on this project. It's going to be a part two to be able to take my time and get it done correctly. Sort of what I found is the battery leaks. These cause a lot more damage than I had realized, and it's just going to take me a little bit more time to work on it to understand what I'm doing. I've had a lot of issues with trying to um, I had a lot of issues with trying to rerun the trace lines and causing more damage than what I started with. I'll show you a little bit. I do have some wins. So this is the back of the unit. And I don't know if I can zoom in here. So it's, yeah, okay. So I was able to scrape off the mass material, and this trace worked fine. If you can see though, I was able to put two bodge lines in. I scraped the mask off. Thought I was being neat, and I tinned the iron and retinned the trace, and then stripped the bodge wire and ran it through. So I was pretty impressed with that. So I thought I could do a little bit more than I could. If you kind of see where these, do this slower, I have two lines that I've have pushed through. There's like, these are called vias, where I learned that too. I believe they're called vias, where it's the end point of the trace line. But on these two, they actually feed into the board here. So if you see that, that's the other end of the bodge line, and that's the second bodge line I was able to get through. So, and that multiplexer, when this gets laid out, this is what it's going to attach to. Now, part of my problems were I removed the mask, I retinned it, and I did have some decent trace lines to work from. They did end up, if you can see, these trace pads are just rough shape. When I originally cleaned it, there was one or two, but they were pretty well damaged. So when I did any type of cleaning at all, it came all the way off. I was planning on just running the wire lines or the bodge lines, and then just solder that to the board anyway. So I wasn't really caring. So my thought was to solder it, connect it to where the trace ends, or till I lost continuity, and then run it to the line and do that for all, I think 8 of the pads there. But part of the issue was when I would solder the lines, and you see I did have one here. I don't know if we can get any closer on that one or not without it getting blurry. Yeah, it's not working out well. All right. But basically, when I went back over those lines, I was getting where they were starting to bridge, because they were so close to each other. So once I bridged the line, I was trying to take the bridge off, and then so I'd heat it up to remove the bridge, and it would take off, both lines would come off, and it was back and forth. It's embarrassing. I probably worked on that for about 2 hours of attaching the lines, removing the lines, because they were bridging, and back and forth and back and forth. So I have a tendency to not stop, and it got pretty bad. I also started using, I was using a razor blade at first to get rid of masking, and then I went to these fiberglass pencils, which I wouldn't recommend these for me. Maybe they work for other people, but I mean, that one's in pretty rough shape now. But and part of it was me. I got a little aggressive, I get frustrated, and to rub the lines, because my thought was if I was getting bridging, I could remove the trace at different points for the different lines, so they wouldn't touch. But when they would come into this corner here, they would get close, and that's when I would start having some issues. And I wanted to make it look really pretty and use the bodge lines and make it look professional, but that didn't work out. So I did leave the actually covering on this bodge line, and I'm going to connect it directly to the chip here. I do have the first one, so my goal, if I rethought it, the first line and the outer line and the inner bodge, I'm calling them lines, but wires, they were actually setting good, but when I tried to run the center one, that's when I was having the problem. And I should have just left the rubber sleeve on, or the coating on the wire, and that would have probably saved me, but I wasn't thinking and made that mistake too. So I about 2.5 hours, I just got frustrated and a few choice words, which I won't have on this video, but I called it a night, and I thought about it. And so the next day, I'm kind of looking at this at a different perspective. Because there is damage here, there is more damage. I guess in my mind, I thought I could just fix trace and go after trace, but if you can kind of see here, I mentioned earlier, this is not really picking up real well. Let me switch to the microscope. Maybe this will give us a little better perspective. All right, so what I did is, I don't know if this is going to show this or not as well as I would like. So on this chip here, there's quite a bit of corrosion down in here. I don't know if I can pick up the way I'd like. But as you can see too, there's some of these vias that's not even been cleaned out, so those will need to be cleaned. I've got these three here, but there's and these pads, you can see there's something here there that needs cleaned. There's a little corrosion here that was shown that I didn't get cleaned. There's some up here that I didn't get cleaned. So there's quite a bit of work on here, and that I need to go back and you take a different approach to it. And if you've got any advice, please leave comments. I'm learning and trying to make this work. But my main thought, and I'll go back to my main camera here, my new game plan is I'm going to remove all the chips, relays, anything in this area, just desolder them, clean them up, so I can get a really good perspective on what trace lines I need to rerun. If they feed under, I can find out exactly where where the continuity will stop, so I can just run bodge lines. I'm probably going to go back with just running the bodge lines with the sheathing on, or the cover on there. I'm still debating on that, but I think that's just going to be best. That way I don't have to worry about the bridging. It's not going to look as pretty, and maybe there's ways you can give me some advice on that. But maybe I don't know if you can glue these down, maybe use some hot glue and to make kind of control them a little bit better so they stay better. But that's kind of where I'm at. I was hoping to get this done in one video and bust it out and be done in a week, and be some type of super solder guy, and obviously I'm not there yet. I did order it's an engraving pencil, so I can use some polishing tips to remove the mask. I know those can get out of hand, but I think I can use that with the microscope and control that slowly enough. I'm really disappointed with these pens again, and again, maybe some people have a better experience with them, but I didn't do really well with them. These fibers, they kind of go everywhere. I didn't get anything in my fingers, but some people say they get in their fingers and it gets in the air and their eyes too. So I didn't have any of those problems. It was really, really wasn't able to get the mask off the way I thought it was. So again, I'll be back with you, and I'm not stopping working on this. I do have to wait for that tool to come in. They'll be here in a couple days. So I'm not stopping what I'm doing, but I just want to let you know that this is going to be complete in this video. And I'm sorry to disappoint you. I'm kind of disappointed myself not to be able to get it done. But going forward, I hope to get better at this, and then these will become a little bit easier for me. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in a few.